Did you know that when people make movies that they can say that the events are all based on true things that happened when in reality there's nothing true about anything that they are showing you? They can just say it. It can all just be totally made up. So in this video, what I've done is I have gathered 5 movies that say that they're true stories, but in reality, it's all made up. And then just so you know, I would brace yourself a little bit because if you didn't know the truth about them, it does sting a little bit, and obviously, spoilers ahead. First up, we have Hidalgo. So Hidalgo is an adventure film. It came out in 2004. It's a story about this guy named Frank Hopkins who says he was a cowboy. He was a rider that entered into this race, this ocean of fire race that was 3,000 miles across the Arabian desert, and he rode this horse called Hidalgo. It was a purebred, and he raced against a bunch of different Arabian horses, and he fought at Wounded Knee, had guilt about it, the massacre that happened there, and that's what the movie is said to be about. The issue is none of it's true. Frank Hopkins, yes, he was a real person, but that's pretty much where the factual parts of the movie start and end. So first off, there's no records anywhere that confirm what he says, that he was a long distance rider for the US Cavalry. There's nothing that supports this claim at all. There's also nothing that supports the claims that he won a bunch of different races, then the fact that none of these races really even existed that he was talking about. And that's like the biggest thing, is that like there's actually not even any evidence that the Ocean of Fire race even existed. Like the whole premise of the movie isn't actually even a thing. Also, the whole movie is kind of him dealing with this inner turmoil that he has about having been at the massacre of Wounded Knee, and he's haunted and he's guilt ridden and all this stuff. There's no records anywhere that say that Frank was ever at Wounded Knee in any way, that he was involved in that massacre at all, which is good. Obviously good for the real Frank for not being in that, but also, bro, like you can't say that. And the whole movie, that's like part of what's motivating him the whole time. Not true. And then finally, other equestrian, yeah, it's equestrian, I think, or other horse riders of the time who knew Frank, they were asked about him. Who was he? Tell us about like his stories, blah, 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 all this stuff. And what they said is, Frank is, and I'm quoting here, a douchebag. Now, douchebag wasn't the term they actually used the word, specifically they used the word braggart, and braggart is not a word that we use anymore. So what they would have said if it was now was douchebag. And they said that he was a liar, his stories were made up, he just was a faker, liar guy. So Hidalgo, still good movie. Viggo Mortensen, love the guy. The movie, all fake, not real. It's just a fiction, fun, fake race, Mustang versus Arabian horses. Next up, we have a movie that I feel like most people know this about it. I feel like it's right up there with, the Blair Witch Project as far as knowing that it's not true. So the Blair Witch Project is also fake. It's not a part of this list because I feel like it was too obvious. But this one, you might know, you might not know. I think a lot of you will know. Fargo. It's all made up. Nothing about Fargo is true. Nothing. Other than there was a story that may or may not have happened. It has not been confirmed, and it has been denied a lot, that a guy in Fargo did kill his wife, allegedly, with a wood chipper. So there is that. There was this wives' tale story thing that was going around, and the Coen brothers made a fantastic film out of this idea. But if you didn't already know, none of it's true. Now, as I was saying about stinging, this one I think is one of those that stings just a little bit, especially because it is actually pretty sad, and it's The Blind Side. So, the football player, was never formally adopted by the Tuohys. He was placed in this conservatorship by the Tuohys, and what it allowed the Tuohys to do was it gave them legal control over all of his financial and business decisions and dealings and everything like that. So, unknowingly relinquished like everything to be with this family, and the Tuohys just completely took advantage of him without him knowing. So then recently in 2023, they went to court. This whole thing got hashed out. And what Orr says is that he didn't even know that they had as much control as they actually did until 2023. He didn't know that they were manipulating, taking advantage of all of the stuff. And on top of that, he said that he did not get a single cent for any of the movie, the book, the blah, 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 all the stuff that went around about The Blind Side and about his story. He didn't get paid for any of it. It all went to the Orrs. They had control over the money. What they gave him, we don't know, whatever. Also, the film very oversimplifies Orr's very complex early life story. Like it says, that he was completely homeless before ever meeting the Tuohys, which is not true. He had lived with other foster families before ever even meeting them. He had friends that he would kind of like couch surf, going from place to place, and he was playing football before he even met them. None of these things were ever told, said. You would have no idea by any of the media that we heard about any of this stuff. So his journey, it was all a lie from what we saw and what we were led to believe. None of it's true. Real quick, if you like videos like these and you want to see more, please subscribe. Just take a second to click that little red button below. It goes a long way and it means a lot and helps me a lot. Up next, we have another movie about another guy named Frank. This movie is Bloodsport. Now, you may not know that Bloodsport because it doesn't say anything until the very end of the movie, but Bloodsport was based on a true story by a guy named Frank. I think his last name's Dux. Spelled D-U-X. Frank Dux. He says that he was the first Westerner to ever show up and entered in this fighting competition in the Kumai area. In 1975 is when he says all this happened. It was this secret martial arts tournament. He says that he went undefeated. He had the most undefeated, the knockouts, just dominating everybody, just being like ultra ninja, Bloodsport, man, whatever. None of it's true. When they went back to even try and see if this Kumai tournament, the Kumai tournament list even existed, they can't find anything. There's no evidence of it. And when they asked Frank, like, hey dude, we can't even find any like existence of this ever happening, he's like, yo dude, I got this trophy here, and this trophy is what they gave me when I won. And they found out that that trophy was made just down the road from Frank, from just like a local trophy shop maker place. On top of all that, he says that he was a army captain, or at least in the movie he's like portrayed as an army captain. However, he was actually just a member of the Marines, and he says also that he worked on covert operations for the CIA. Also, no credible evidence supporting any of these claims. He also says that he served in combat. Not true. After going into the records, the military records, to try and see like where he did, what he did, all the stuff, the guy never even left San Diego during the time that under his time as in the military. So he just was kind of in boot camp the whole time. So there's no evidence that the tournament existed, that he ever won anything, that he ever did any of this stuff. Yeah, Bloodsport. None of it's true. And finally, this movie is a good movie. It's enjoyable, it's fun, it's well acted, it's intense, it's all the stuff. And it's obvious. It's obvious that it's not true, because if you just take a small step back, kind of think about it just for a second, it's like, oh yeah, obviously. And this movie is The Perfect Storm. I really like The Perfect Storm, but these guys, they died on the boat. So the whole movie about them being on the boat, trying to get back, trying to survive, the waves, blah, 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 all the stuff, it's all made up. The only thing that's true is that they existed. They were real people who went out in a storm when they shouldn't have. The movie it just as well could have been about these guys running away and starting a new life in Mexico or something. It's the same it's the same reality. I mean, it could have been anything. Who knows? Because it's not real. None of it happened. The way that what we're seeing, we don't know what happened, right? So of course this isn't real. But shout out to these guys for what we don't really know. What if they did anything heroic or not? They just got caught in a storm. Poor guys. Great movie. What movies did I miss? I know there's a bunch of them when I was compiling it. There's still a bunch left. Which ones did you wish that I talked about? Which facts did maybe I got something wrong? Maybe I left some stuff out about how totally wrong some of these stories were. The Franks, are there more Franks? Who knows? Subscribe here subscribe here if you want to watch more, and click this video here if you want to watch a little something else. Patreon.com/Austin Kohler is where you get ad-free and exclusive videos. The best perk though is you get a ride in to the shows that I make, and I will read your questions about whatever topic that is applicable to the thing I'm talking about. And right now, the collaborator tier, where that's the tier that you get a ride into the show, it's free. So if you want to check that out, feel free to check it out. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.